Hi, my name is Abraham and I'm your big brother in recovery. Thanking you for coming back to another educational video that'll help you on your road to recovery. First and foremost, I'd like to thank all of you guys out there who are subscribed and who are leaving comments at the bottom and letting us know how we're coming across to you and how either we're educating, empowering, or enlightening you on this exciting exploratory journey of sobriety. For all of those of you who haven't subscribed, I would ask you to subscribe and hopefully share this with your friends because we're all in this together. There's no big I's, no little U's. Always look for the similarities and not the differences, because when you're looking for differences, what you're doing is you're trying to attempt to become superior and not being relatable. So with that being said, we always say the program of recovery is located in the book, not necessarily in the person or in the meeting, because the program in the book never changes, but some other things out there do. And we're not here to say anything negative about anyone because we just want to live and let live. That's our moral code. So while you're looking for your big book or listening to this and go back and replay it again and go back and look at what I'm saying, because I often say everywhere I go, don't believe anything I say, but go back and research it for yourself and you'll have a greater appreciation for me. I believe Malcolm said it best. If you want to hide something from a brother or a sister, put it in a book. They'll never find it. So without further delay, let's go to something real interesting today that I want to share with you. I'm kind of feeling a little, I don't know the word, miffed, a little, not surprised, but down, because a few of the individuals that I got to know on last week OD'd and died. And the oldest was 23, and I believe the youngest was 21. And, that's a tragedy. A friend of mine who's a pastor said to me once when he officiated a funeral, he said that he doesn't know what's worse, the death of the person or the death of the dream. So I want everybody out there to know, and I'm the proof, that addiction is 100% treatable. I've been around since November 17, 1980, and that's not to puff myself up, but I haven't experienced a relapse in 38 years, and things are getting a whole lot better, and I'm doing better than most. That's why I decided to do this channel, is to help individuals to know that they can too. Anything anybody else is doing, you could do it as well. You weren't too young to get addicted. You're not too old to recover. But I made a statement that addiction is 100% treatable. Now, you already know one of the Abrahamisms is addiction is not a choice, but recovery is. I'd like to draw your attention to Roman numeral page 21. I believe that's XXIX. And if you look at the page, preceding that page rather, if you look at the bottom of that page, it says men and women drink essentially because they like the effect produced by alcohol or whatever your addiction is. This sensation is so elusive that while they admit it is injurious, they cannot after a time differentiate the true from the false. To them, meaning the addicted person, their addiction life seems the only normal one. They are restless, irritable, and discontent unless they can experience a sense of ease and comfort, which comes at once by taking a few drinks which they see others taking with impunity. I heard a guy say his grandfather drank for 30 years and he didn't get into an accident until he tried to get sober. But hey, that's without impunity, right? After they have succumbed to the desire again, as so many do, here comes the disease of addiction. The phenomenal craving develops. They pass through a well-known stage of sprees, emerging remorseful with a firm resolution not to drink again. This is repeated over and over, and unless this person can experience an entire psychic change, there's very little hope of his recovery. Now notice, 100% treatable. Notice the next line. On the other hand, and strange as this may seem to those who do not understand, once a psychic change has occurred, the very same person who seemed doomed, who had so many problems he despaired of ever solving them, suddenly finds himself easily able to control his desire for alcohol, the only effort necessary being that required to follow a few simple rules. So therefore, the only solution to addiction, in my opinion, is recovery. But you must follow a few simple rules or interpreted steps. In our case, the 12 steps. Now, I want to get to what I wanted to talk about today. And one of the things that I've learned, as a matter of fact, the more I learn, the less I find out I knew. So what I've learned, and I'll share this with you, what I have discovered now that I have recovered is something interesting. I want to draw your attention to Bill's story on page 14. This is interesting. Go with me to page 14 and you will find Bill's story. Now, if you looked at a video prior to this, it was entitled, How Did Bill W. Recover? You will notice that Bill worked all 12 steps on page 13, or at least step 3 through 12. He worked them all on page 13, and he did all of that without even writing the book. So what I want to show you is, what did Bill discover when he recovered? It's found on paragraph 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Paragraph 5. I'm going to give you a moment to get there. And this is going to set the tone for what I want to talk about today. What did Bill and I discover when we recovered? While I lay in the hospital, the thought, circle that, thoughts of things came that there were thousands of hopeless alcoholics who might be glad to have what had been so freely given me. Perhaps I could help some of them, then in turn might work with others. Bill discovered that when he helps others, he helps himself. But notice something, when he turned his will, which is his thinking, in his life, which is his actions, over to the care of God as he understood him, he found out something that was really interesting. Go with me to page 85. Now, you may hear a lot of entertainers tell you, look where your best thinking got you. Or they may tell you your will doesn't work. Well, let's look at what the book says. Go to page 85. And I'll start reading at the first paragraph. It is easy to let up on the spiritual program of action and rest on our laurels. You know what that word means. If you don't, get your big book dictionary and look it up. We're headed for trouble if we do. For alcohol is a subtle foe. They already told us it was cunning, baffling, and powerful. We are not cured, notice what it says, of alcoholism. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Every day is a day when we must carry the vision of God's will, into our activities. How can I best serve thee? Thy will, not mine, be done. Notice this next line. These are thoughts which must go with us constantly. We can exercise our willpower along this line all we wish. It is simply the proper use of the will. Now, Bill has been transformed, or he has recovered, and what he has recovered is his relationship with his higher power. Now his higher power can talk to him because there's no more wreckage of his past preventing him from finding out what his higher power's future is for him. Now notice something. Bill went from being selfish to selfless. Now, one of the things that he and I both discovered is simply this. When we put God's will ahead of our will, we'll notice God's will is always to help a certain people solve a major problem. Now, as I alluded to earlier, how I feel right about now about the individuals who had a chance and for whatever reason, either they could not or they would not accept it. I'm not God to judge nobody, but one thing I do know is that this thing is 100% treatable and they're not here anymore. And my sentiments go out to their families if they're watching, and for anyone else who has lost a loved one to the disease of addiction. But what I want to show you is something really interesting. Yes, I am my brothers and sisters' keeper, but that's only if my brother and sister wants to be kept. Now I want to draw your attention to page 96. Page 96 of our book. And we're going to start reading at the top of the page. Page 96. Do not be discouraged if your prospect does not respond at once. Search out another alcoholic and try again. You're sure to find someone desperate enough to accept with eagerness what you offer. We find it a waste of time to keep chasing a man who cannot or will not work with you. If you leave such a person alone, he may soon become convinced that he cannot recover by himself. To spend too much time on any one situation is to deny some other alcoholic an opportunity to live and be happy. Not even going to talk about Bill W. with his first 6 sponsees. One of our fellowship failed entirely with his first half-dozen prospects. He often says that if he had continued to work on them, he might have deprived many others who have since recovered of their chance. You know, I do a lot of work in recovery, and I'm not bragging about it, but it's all I do. And I notice people don't give a care about what you do until they understand why you do it. And I'll tell you what and why in a minute. Well, I'll tell you why I do what I do. One of the things that the basic text says, the NA basic text, it says in tradition number 3, and I want you to start looking at the second line in the first paragraph. An addict who does not want to stop using will not stop using. They can be analyzed, counseled, reasoned with, prayed over, threatened, beaten, or locked up. But they will not stop until they want to stop. The only thing we ask our members is that they have this desire. Without it, they are doomed. But with it, miracles will happen. You know, I've dedicated my life, that's why we do this channel, to help people pretty much to sustain sobriety, achievable sobriety. And we do that through an educational process because the program, as we said, of recovery is located in the book. But I want to tell you pretty much why I do what I do. I told you what I do. I help people to achieve sustainable sobriety. You know, why do I do what I do? And why am I feeling the way I'm feeling because of those young people? Even though if they won't, if a person doesn't want to listen, what can you do? All you can do is the best you can do, because watch this, no human power could relieve their addiction, but God could and would if they sought him. So I'm just going to leave it at that, you know. But what I'd like to show you is pretty much why I do what I do. And this is a good litmus test for you as well, why you should do if you're in recovery and you want to help others to achieve sustainable sobriety. Go with me to page 180. Page 180. And you know, I take no offense to saying that I've recovered, you know, and that's what the program suggests. All you got to do is start reading at the bottom of page 84 when you get a chance, and keep reading, and you'll see that we do. Why would they tell you to keep coming back if you don't get better? There are so many people out there that give the disease more power than they give God or their program of recovery. And I'm not one of those people, because I understand that the message of recovery is simple. We do recover. That's the hope. Now, I've gotten that off my chest. I want you to look at page 180 and notice what the co-founder of the program said. And this is how I feel right about now. It is a most wonderful blessing to be relieved of the terrible curse with which I was afflicted. This is my sentiment exactly. My health is good, and I have regained my self-respect and the respect of my colleagues. I have. My home life is the ideal. I'm in it now. It's peace in my home. And my business is as good as it can be expected in these uncertain times. I spent a great deal of time passing on what I learned to others who want and need it badly. I do it for 4 reasons. Here are the 4 reasons why I do it. Number 1, it's a sense of duty. Number 2, it's a pleasure. Number 3, because in so doing, I'm paying my debt to the man who took time to pass it on to me, the great Jimmy Hodges. And number 4, because every time I do it, I take out a little more insurance for myself against a possible slip. And my definition for the acronyms of SLIP is sobriety loses its priority. In closing, I want to draw your attention to one more place. Page 132, and I want you to read the bottom paragraph. Well, the paragraph before the bottom. As a matter of fact, the second paragraph on page 132. And look at the last line in that paragraph. We have recovered and have been given the power to help others. So what I've learned, what I've discovered when I recovered is simply this. When I help others, I help myself. Why? Because that's the will of God, and that is the proper use of the will. Give, and it shall be given to you. In other words, the golden rule is simply love God with all your heart, mind, and soul, and do unto others as you have others do unto you. Look, I hope this video has been enjoyable to you. I want to remind you to go to our Sobriety Society, intl.com website and get our new book that we wrote on addiction. It's called Everything You Need to Know About Drugs, Addiction, and Recovery. And it's 100,000 copies in print. And if you notice, look at the thickness of it. And it's being sought after all over the world. Addiction recovery programs are using it right now. And they claim that it's one of the best books on addiction written in the last 20 years. As a matter of fact, someone said it's what a physician's desk reference is to the field of addiction is the same thing it is to a counselor. So with that being said, I thank you for listening to me, and try to do something nice for somebody today without them knowing that you did it. All right, this is your big brother in recovery. Please help me get 100 views, 200 views, all right? Because remember, when you help others, you help yourself. Talk to you soon. Bye.